Hey, broken salespeople. Welcome to the workshop. And today we are going to be talking about horror movies, gatekeepers, and the Spanish Civil War. That's on this episode of the Broken Salespeople podcast. Hey, broken salespeople. Welcome to the workshop. My name is Red Staffstrom, and today we are here to help you fix your broken sales skills. So I was speaking with a BDR recently, somebody who is working in software as a service, and we were starting to talk about strategies of how he could get a hold of the real decision makers and ways that he can do it. And it made me flash back to about a week ago. I've obviously been talking about Ukraine. Many of you guys who have been following the podcast know that already. But there was something that Vladimir Putin said um, that stuck out to me. Um, and it was a specific term. And the term, if you aren't familiar with it, is the fifth column. He talked about the fifth column. Now, the fifth column is something that's not widely known. I'm a big fan of one person who uses it quite a bit. It's also a book written by Hemingway, but it comes from the Spanish Civil War. In the late 1930s, Spain fought in a civil war, rebels like versus the more pro-fascist government that was in Spain. And there was a general Emilio Mola Vidal who helped the rebels, the anti-fascist rebels, kind of retake everything during the Spanish Civil War. And there was a point towards the end of the war where got to Madrid. He came to Madrid, Spain's capital, and said, "You're going to be defeated with five columns. I have a column of men to the north of you, south, east, west, and a fifth column inside the city, ready to open the gates." And since then, the fifth column has come to mean people inside of an organization, inside of a country, a city, a whatever, who are sympathetic to an outside group. Somebody who wants to see change inside that organization, somebody who wants to see something shift and is willing to seek outside help in order to do it. So, what are you? As a sales rep, trying to get a hold of a general sales manager, a decision maker, a CEO, a whatever, what are you what are you effectively? You're an outsider. You are 100% an outsider. You are somebody who is seeking change inside that organization. And in order for that to happen, you need management to change their minds. You need the people at the top of the pyramid to decide to shift things in order to make those changes, in order to let you storm the gates. And what stands in your way? Gatekeepers, right? We keep talking about that. And there are so many people who have ideas of how to get around gatekeepers and how to get gatekeepers to put you directly into the decision maker. That's a wasted opportunity if I've ever saw one. Um, Imagine if you were this general during the Civil War, the Spanish Civil War, and you had an opportunity to talk to some of the citizens inside Madrid, and you had the opportunity to undercut the propaganda that they were being fed. And you were able to convince them that you only want that what's best for them. How do you think they would behave? How do you think that one person, even if it's a homeless person on the street, would behave towards you? Or would they I mean, they are your Trojan horse. You don't even need to build the horse. They just open the gates for you. They are your fifth column. So why do we want to just get past the gatekeeper? The gatekeeper isn't just some no-name secretary the way we usually portray her or him in role plays. They are somebody who have trust within the organization. They are somebody who is trusted enough to be the very first face that people meet, at least over a phone call. Why are we ignoring that? If I was at war, if I was trying to infiltrate an organization, wouldn't I want as many people within that organization to be excited about talking to me? And that's where the horror movie comes in. What if rather than being an outsider calling in to speak to a decision maker, what if the call was coming from inside the house? What if the person passing things up the ladder already knows what you're trying to do? They already want the same changes that you are espousing, that they use your technology rather than somebody else's. They are on your side. So rather than talk to them like they're gatekeepers, as if there's some obstacle you have to get past, let's start looking at them as the potential allies who can open the gates for us. They are our fifth column. They are the insider. Like, yes, we have those troops along the outside. We have marketing, we have branding, we have social media strategy, we have BDRs as appointment setters, we have onboarding, we have delivery. We have those columns already set up to surround the city. But then we ignore what's going to happen when we get there. There's a study by the Rand Corporation. Now, if you don't know who the Rand Corporation is, if there is pretty much anything that happens in the military, Rand Corporation has a statistic on it. They have run a study. No matter what you think, you could pretty much find something that Rand did. They say that in order for a country, an outside country, to actually maintain control of an invaded country. So, in order for Russia to take control and maintain control of Ukraine, they need 20 soldiers for every 100 citizens. So, they need one soldier for every five citizens. Honestly, and just for your own clarification, they have about one for every 25, based on where things stand right now. So they're at 4 in 100 as opposed to 20 in 100. What happens when you do take the city? What happens when they do agree to sign, but you haven't created enough allies on the way? What if the only person who is seeking change is that person at the top of the pyramid? That person who, that mayor of the city, that despot at the top. If you didn't win hearts and minds while going in, it's not going to be implemented. Whatever software, whatever service, whatever you work with, if you ignored the gatekeepers, linemen, the people who are going to put your technology, your product, the people who are going to use what you sell, if you ignore them and don't let the calls come from inside the house, it's going to be virtually impossible to take that city, to maintain it. And what's that mean? It means they try it for 3 months and they cancel. That's not what you want. You want a whole company of diehard supporters who cannot subsist, who cannot do their job successfully without your product, without your service. That is what you want because that's how you build long-term customers. That's how you expand. It's how you get referrals. It's not somebody who signed up and gave up 2 months later. You need that fifth column. You need the calls to come from the inside of the house. So how do you do it? How do you win the gatekeeper over? How do you get them on your side? Because it's not easy, but it is easier than it is in most cases. You see, these people, the the gatekeepers, the secretaries, the people on the line, they don't actually have to cut a check. You don't have price objections from the people at the ground level because they don't actually write the check. They are there only to figure out what would make their job easier, and that is it. But if you convince enough of them that your solution, whatever it happens to be, will make their job easier, now you aren't the only one talking to the CEO. You have a dozen people doing so. You don't come up with price objections when other people, when everybody in the organization says, we need this. If they are banging on the CEO's door and saying, hey, this would make my job easier, this would make me more profitable, do you think he's going to ignore your calls anymore? Do you think you're just going to be leaving voicemail after voicemail? No. There that line worker is going to hand your phone number to the CEO and say, "Call John. He's the person who can fix this for us." You need to get people at the ground level. You need the gatekeepers on your side if you want to infiltrate the city. The call is coming from inside the house. It's a terrifying phrase in a horror movie and Scream because of the inevitability, because the guard is down, because what they were looking for has already happened, what they were afraid of, the things that were in place to keep you out are already null and void. The locked doors, the windows, the alarm system, they are in the house and you're there. Use that to your advantage. Create a way to find the people who would be your biggest advocates. Find the people who are excited to work for you and let them make the phone call rather than you do it yourself. Train them on how to make the phone call. Teach them what they need in order to have that conversation. This isn't an easy thing, but it's easier than leaving 2 dozen voicemails and never getting an answer. Figure out the end users. If it's an email service, talk to the BDRs. Reach out as if you're a customer and say, "Hey, I know what you're struggling with. I know you're having a problem with this and this. I think I can make your job easier. Would you be willing to sit down for 15 minutes?" See if you could get them on your side, and then ask for a connection to the big boss, to the decision maker. It's not easy, but it's a lot easier than what most of you guys are doing. Create the fifth column. Create those people sympathetic to your cause inside the gates, and it'll be a lot easier to take and hold the city. So, guys, that's going to be the end of this episode. I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. I am coming out very, very soon with my course for introverts, going to be about $100. It's going to be an amazing thing. Looks like it's 3 to 4 hours of content going over the history, the psychology, the techniques that you need, and going over how to identify or create a sales culture that is healthy for introverts. Make sure you're keeping an eye on that. Follow me on social medias. The most active one is LinkedIn. I'm more than welcome whatever connections you guys have. Until next time, please go fix yourself.